The nursing home brochure sat on the kitchen table between us like a threat disguised as concern. Glossy photos of smiling elderly people playing bingo and eating pudding, and my daughter Sophia pushed it toward me with that practiced expression of patient exasperation she'd perfected over the past year. Mama, you're 77 years old, living alone in Dallas. Last month you fell. What if next time is worse? What if you break a hip and nobody finds you for days? Her husband, Richard, nodded from across the table, his face arranged in what he probably thought was sympathy but looked more like impatience. And I understood then that this wasn't a suggestion, it was an ultimatum. But what Sophia didn't know, what neither of them could have imagined as they sat in my kitchen, planning to warehouse me in a facility that cost $6,000 a month, was that I'd spent the last 3 months hiring a forensic accountant to investigate them, and the folder sitting in my bedroom contained evidence that would send them both to prison. My name is Teresa Alvarez, and this story begins not with nursing home brochures, but 18 months ago when I made the mistake of believing my daughter when she said she wanted to help me manage my finances. I came to Texas from Nicaragua in 1972, 24 years old, with a nursing degree I'd earned in Managua and a determination to build a life in America. I worked at Parkland Hospital in Dallas for 35 years, starting as a floor nurse and eventually becoming a charge nurse in the cardiac unit. The work was brutal, 12-hour shifts, life and death decisions, patients who lived because of my competence and patients who died despite it. My husband Eduardo worked construction, and together we saved every dollar we could. We lived in a small house in Oak Cliff, drove used cars, took no vacations, put every penny toward two things: raising our daughter Sophia and building security for our future. Eduardo died of a heart attack 10 years ago, collapsing on a job site at 62, and I'd been alone ever since. But I wasn't poor. 35 years of nursing, careful investing through the hospital's retirement plan, Eduardo's life insurance, and the paid-off house meant I had accumulated almost $900,000 in assets. Not rich by American standards, but comfortable. Secure, enough to live well for the rest of my life, without depending on anyone. Sophia was our only child, our everything. We'd paid for her undergraduate degree at SMU, her law school at University of Texas, helped with her first apartment when she started practicing corporate law in Dallas. She'd married Richard 5 years ago, a real estate developer who always wore expensive suits and talked about deals and opportunities in ways that made me uncomfortable, even though I couldn't articulate why. After Eduardo died, Sophia started visiting more often. At first, I thought it was genuine concern, a daughter checking on her widowed mother. But gradually, the visits took on a different tone. She'd ask about my finances, about the house, about my retirement accounts. Mama, are you sure you're managing everything okay? These investment statements look complicated. Maybe I should help you organize things. I should have recognized the warning signs. Should have understood that her sudden interest in my financial well-being wasn't about well-being at all. But she was my daughter, my only child, and I wanted to believe she cared. 18 months ago, Sophia convinced me to give her power of attorney. Just for emergencies, Mama? What if you have a stroke like Mrs. Gutierrez down the street? Someone needs to be able to pay your bills, make medical decisions. It's just a precaution. It made sense. I was 76, living alone, and yes, emergencies happen. So I signed the papers her lawyer had drawn up. Limited power of attorney for financial and medical decisions, and I gave my daughter access to my life. That's when things started changing. Small things at first. Sophia wanted to consolidate my bank accounts for easier management. She suggested moving my retirement funds to a better investment firm that her friend recommended. She thought I should consider a reverse mortgage on the house to free up capital for better investments. I said no to most of it. Something in my gut said these were bad ideas, even though Sophia made them sound logical. But I did let her consolidate my accounts, moving everything to one bank where she had signing authority just for emergencies. Then 6 months ago, I fell in my backyard. Nothing serious. I was gardening, lost my balance, bruised my hip. But Sophia treated it like a catastrophic event. Mama, this is exactly what I was worried about. You can't live alone anymore. What if you'd hit your head? What if you'd broken something? But I didn't. I'm fine. This time. What about next time? That's when she first mentioned assisted living. Just something to think about. A place where there are people around, where help is available if you need it. Where you'd have activities, socialization. Wouldn't that be nice? I don't want to leave my house. Mama, the house is too much for you. Too many stairs, too much yard work, too many things that could go wrong. And honestly, it's worth a lot of money. If you sold it, you could afford a really nice facility and still have money left over. I'm not selling my house. Eduardo and I bought this house 40 years ago. I'm dying here. Sophia's face hardened for just a moment before she rearranged it back into concern. Let's not talk about dying. Let's talk about living safely. Just think about it, okay? I thought about it, and the more I thought, the more wrong it felt. Why was Sophia so insistent on me selling the house? Why did every conversation circle back to my assets, my accounts, my property value? So I did something I'm not proud of, but also not ashamed of. I started paying attention. Really paying attention to what Sophia said, what she didn't say, how she and Richard exchanged glances when discussing my finances. And what I noticed made me cold. They were always together when visiting now. Richard, who'd barely spoken to me in 5 years of marriage to Sophia, suddenly had opinions about my investments, my insurance, my estate planning. They'd sit at my kitchen table with papers spread out, talking about optimizing my portfolio and maximizing my returns in ways that sounded helpful but felt predatory. Then came the day I went to withdraw cash from my account, and the teller said, "Mrs. Alvarez, you're aware your account balance is getting quite low, right? You might want to transfer funds from savings." Low? That's impossible. I had over $40,000 in that account 2 months ago. The teller showed me the statement, $4,300 remaining. I asked for a full transaction history, and what I saw made me physically sick. Regular transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Payments to vendors I'd never used. Withdrawals of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 marked medical expenses or home repairs that had never happened. I went home and locked my bedroom door and went through every financial document I had. My retirement account that should have had $400,000 had been transferred to a new high-yield investment fund I'd never heard of. My savings account with $200,000 was down to $80,000. Even the small investment account Eduardo had set up years ago, $20,000 that I'd forgotten about, had been drained $3,000. Someone had stolen over $400,000 from me in 6 months. And the only person with access to my accounts was Sophia. I should have called the police immediately, should have confronted her, reported the theft, protected what little I had left. But she was my daughter, my only child, and some desperate part of me needed to believe there was an explanation. That I was wrong, that my daughter hadn't betrayed me so completely. So instead of calling police, I called someone else, a woman named Patricia Santos, who I'd met at church, a forensic accountant who specialized in financial crimes. I told her everything, showed her my statements, gave her access to my transaction histories. "Teresa," she said after reviewing everything, "this is textbook elder financial abuse. Your daughter has been systematically draining your accounts. The transfers, the fake expenses, the mysterious investment fund, all of it points to theft. You need to report that. She's my daughter. She's a thief." And Teresa, it's going to get worse. People who steal from family don't stop. They escalate. My guess is the nursing home push is the next phase. Get you institutionalized, sell your house, liquidate your remaining assets. By the time they're done, you'll have nothing. What do? You hire me to do a full forensic audit. We document every fraudulent transaction, trace where the money went, build an airtight case, and then you decide prosecute or confront. But either way, you protect what's left. I hired Patricia that day for the next 3 months, while Sophia continued pushing nursing home brochures and estate planning discussions. Patricia dug through my finances, and what she found was worse than simple theft. The high-yield investment fund my retirement money had been transferred to didn't exist. It was a shell company Richard had created, and my $400,000 had been transferred directly to accounts he controlled. The money had been used to cover losses in his real estate developments, to pay off his personal debts, to fund a lifestyle he couldn't actually afford. Sophia had forged my signature on dozens of documents, transfer authorizations, investment agreements, even a new will that left everything to her immediately upon my death, bypassing the trust structure Eduardo and I had carefully set up to ensure money went to charities we cared about. The nursing home push wasn't about my safety. It was about getting me out of my house so they could sell it immediately, pocket the proceeds, and continue draining whatever remained of my accounts. Patricia estimated that within 6 months of institutionalizing me, they'd have taken everything and I'd be left as a ward of the state in a facility paid for by Medicaid. How much have they stolen total? I asked Patricia when she presented her final report. $467,000 that I can document. Possibly more that's harder to trace. Teresa, your daughter and son-in-law have been running a sophisticated financial exploitation scheme. This isn't opportunistic theft. This is organized crime. What happens if I report them? Sophia will be disbarred and likely face 5 to 10 years in prison for fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. Richard will face similar charges, plus additional counts related to the shell company scheme. You'll recover some of your money through restitution, though probably not all of it. And your relationship with your daughter will be over. What happens if I don't report them? They'll continue until you have nothing. Then they'll abandon you to whatever Medicaid facility will take you. And you'll spend your final years in the exact nightmare they're currently pretending to protect you from. I sat with Patricia's report for 2 days, reading every page, looking at every forged signature, every fraudulent transaction. My daughter, the little girl I'd raised, the woman I'd put through college and law school, the child Eduardo had died believing would take care of me, had been systematically stealing from me while pretending to help. But what hurt most wasn't the money. It was the betrayal. The way she'd looked me in the eyes and lied. The way she'd used my trust as a weapon against me. The way she'd calculated exactly how much she could take before I noticed and then pushed me toward a nursing home before I could stop her. I made my decision. I wouldn't just report them. I would destroy them, completely, publicly, in a way that ensured they could never do this to anyone else's mother, anyone else's grandmother. I called Sophia 3 days later. Mija, I've been thinking about what you said about the nursing home. I think maybe you're right. Can you come over this weekend? Bring the papers. Let's discuss options. I could hear the triumph in her voice. Of course, Mama. Saturday afternoon, Richard and I will bring several facility options for you to review. Saturday afternoon, Sophia and Richard arrived with a briefcase full of documents, nursing home brochures, financial statements, papers I was supposed to sign. They sat at my kitchen table, radiating false concern and genuine greed. We found a wonderful place in Plano, Sophia began, spreading brochures across the table. Sunrise Senior Living. Beautiful facility, excellent care, only $6,000 a month. With your assets, you could afford it for years. $6,000 a month is $72,000 a year, I said slowly. That would drain my savings fairly quickly. That's why we'd sell the house, Richard jumped in. This property is worth at least $400,000. Sell it, put the proceeds in a managed care account, and you're set for years. Plus, you wouldn't have to worry about maintenance, property taxes, all the stress of home ownership. You'd manage the account from the sale? Of course, we'd make sure everything was handled properly, that your care was paid for, that you were comfortable. Sophia's smile was warm, maternal. If I hadn't known she'd already stolen nearly $500,000 from me, I might have believed she cared. What about my retirement account? The one you helped me move to, that new investment fund. Something flickered in Sophia's eyes. That's doing well, Mama. Earning good returns. Why do you ask? Just curious how much I actually have. For planning purposes, you have plenty. Don't worry about numbers. That's what you have us for, to handle the complicated financial stuff so you can focus on staying healthy and safe. I pulled out my folder then, the one Patricia had prepared. Inside was everything: the forensic audit, copies of forged signatures, transaction records showing every stolen dollar, documents about Richard's fake shell company. Before I sign anything, I said calmly, "I'd like you to explain these." I slid the papers across the table. Sophia picked them up, started reading, and the color drained from her face. Richard leaned over, saw what she was looking at, and actually stood up like he was going to leave. "Sit down, Richard," I said. My voice was steel. "We're not done." "Mama, where did you get these?" Sophia's hands were shaking. "These are private financial documents. These are records of theft. $467,000 stolen from me over 6 months. Forged signatures, fake investment funds. My money transferred to Richard's shell company to cover his failed real estate deals, all documented by a forensic accountant." "This is a misunderstanding," Richard tried, but I cut him off. "Shut up. I'm talking to my daughter." I looked at Sophia, really looked at her. "You used the power of attorney I gave you for emergencies to steal from me. You forged my signature on dozens of documents. You created a fake will leaving everything to you. And now you're trying to force me into a nursing home so you can sell my house and take the last of what I have. Is that accurate?" "Mama, you don't understand the complexities. I understand theft. I understand fraud. I understand that my daughter, who I raised and educated and loved, has been stealing from me while pretending to care about my well-being." Sophia's face hardened then, the mask dropping. "You want to talk about what you're owed? Fine. Richard and I are drowning in debt. His developments failed. We're facing bankruptcy. We needed money to stay afloat, and you were just sitting on hundreds of thousands doing nothing with it. You're old, Mama. You don't need that much money. We needed it more. So you decided to steal it. We decided to access family resources during a crisis. That's what families do. They help each other. After everything we did for you, after Dad died, after all the time we spent managing your affairs, we deserved compensation." "Compensation? You call stealing $500,000 compensation?" Richard found his voice. "We were going to pay you back eventually. Once our financial situation improved. This was always meant to be temporary." I almost laughed. "And the nursing home? The selling my house? That was temporary too? You can't stay here alone, Teresa." Richard's voice had an edge now. "You're old. You're declining. You need care. The nursing home is genuinely the best option for you. The fact that selling the house also helps us is just practical. Why shouldn't the house benefit the family instead of sitting here with one old woman in it? Because it's my house, my money, my life. Not yours to steal, not yours to manage, not yours to liquidate for your benefit." Sophia leaned forward. "Mama, you need to think carefully about this. If you make accusations, if you try to cause problems, you'll lose us. Your only family. Is that really what you want? To spend your final years completely alone because you were too stubborn to help your daughter when she needed you? You're threatening me? After stealing from me? You're threatening to abandon me if I don't let you continue. I'm being realistic. You have 2 choices. Sign these nursing home papers, cooperate with the house sale, and Richard and I will make sure you're taken care of. Or refuse, make accusations, and you'll die alone in this house with nobody caring if you're okay. Your choice." I looked at my daughter, this woman I'd given life to, and I felt nothing. Not love, not anger, just a cold clarity about what needed to happen next. "I choose option 3. I said calmly. "I choose to prosecute you both for elder financial abuse, forgery, and fraud. I choose to show the State Bar of Texas every forged document, so you're disbarred. I choose to file a civil lawsuit for every penny you stole, plus damages. And I choose to make sure everyone in our family, our community, and your professional circles knows exactly what you did." Sophia went white. "You wouldn't?" "I already have. Patricia Santos, the forensic accountant who compiled all this evidence, she reported everything to the Dallas Police Financial Crimes Unit yesterday. There are detectives waiting in my living room right now. I called them before you arrived. On cue, my living room door opened, and 2 detectives walked into the kitchen. Sofia Alvarez, Richard Keller. We need you to come with us. You're being arrested for elder financial abuse and fraud. What happened next was pure chaos. Sofia screaming that I was crazy, that this was a mistake, that I was mentally incompetent and didn't understand what I was doing. Richard threatening lawsuits, claiming everything was legal and properly documented. The detectives calmly handcuffing them both while reading their Miranda rights as they were being let out. Sofia looked back at me one last time, not with remorse or apology, but with pure hatred. You'll regret this. You think you're protecting yourself. You're destroying your only family. You'll die alone and miserable, and it'll be your own fault. Maybe, I said quietly, but I'll die with my dignity intact. You can't say the same. After they left, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time. The nursing home brochures were still spread across the surface, glossy photos of elderly people playing bingo. I swept them all into the trash and called Patricia. It's done, they're arrested. How do you feel? I have no idea. What followed was months of legal proceedings. Sofia and Richard were charged with multiple counts of elder financial abuse, forgery, and fraud. The evidence was overwhelming. Patricia's forensic audit, the forged documents, Richard's shell company records, transaction histories showing systematic theft. Sofia's law license was suspended pending investigation. Richard's real estate business collapsed as partners and investors learned about the fraud. Their house went into foreclosure. Their friends disappeared. And I testified in court, in front of lawyers and judges and spectators. I described every detail of how my daughter had stolen from me while pretending to care. How she'd used my trust as a weapon. How the nursing home push had been the final phase of a plan to take everything. Sofia's lawyer tried to paint me as confused, mentally declining, misunderstanding, normal family financial assistance. But Patricia's testimony destroyed that narrative. This wasn't confusion. This was systematic theft by someone in a position of trust. Mrs. Alvarez's mental faculties are perfect. What she experienced was criminal exploitation, not misunderstanding. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts for both Sofia and Richard. Sofia was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Richard got 10 years because of the shell company scheme and additional victims. I wasn't the only elderly person he'd defrauded. There were 3 others Patricia's investigation had uncovered. Both were ordered to pay full restitution plus damages, though the lawyers said I'd likely never recover most of the money. The day of sentencing, Sofia asked to speak to me. Against my lawyer's advice, I agreed. We sat in a small room with a guard outside, Sofia in her orange jumpsuit, me in the nice dress I'd worn to court. Why did you do it? She asked. Not I'm sorry, not I was wrong, just why did you do it? Because you left me no choice. You were going to take everything and warehouse me in a facility while you spent my money. I chose to survive. I'm your daughter. Doesn't that mean anything? You're my daughter who stole from me and tried to institutionalize me. Being my daughter stopped protecting you when you started being my thief. I needed that money, Mama. Richard and I were desperate. So ask for help, come to me honestly, explain the situation, request a loan or a gift. Don't steal it while pretending to care for me. Don't forge my signature. Don't plan to sell my house out from under me. Those were choices you made, Sofia. Own them. I'll be in prison for 7 years. When I get out, I'll be 50 years old with a criminal record and no career. You destroyed my life. No. You destroyed your life. I just refused to let you destroy mine in the process. That was 2 years ago. Sofia's 5 years into her sentence. Richard got out after serving 8 years. Moved to another state, and I've heard nothing from him. Some of the money has been recovered through restitution payments, about $90,000 so far out of the $467,000 they stole. I still live in my house in Oak Cliff. Still drive my old car. Still tend my garden where I fell that day. 18 months ago. But I'm not alone. Patricia Santos, the forensic accountant who saved me, became a close friend. She introduced me to other elderly people who'd survived financial abuse by family members. And we formed a support group. 12 of us meet monthly, sharing our stories, supporting each other through the aftermath of family betrayal. And I started volunteering, speaking at senior centers about the warning signs of elder financial abuse, teaching classes on how to protect your assets, training bank tellers and social workers to recognize when elderly customers are being exploited. My story, Sophia's story, has become a case study in elder abuse prevention training across Texas. The nursing home brochures Sophia brought that day are still in my trash. Sometimes I look at them and think about the alternate timeline where I signed those papers, where I believed my daughter cared about me instead of my money, where I ended up in Sunrise Senior Living while Sophia and Richard sold my house and spent my last $400,000. That timeline ends with me dying in a facility alone and penniless, while my daughter lived in my house and spent my money. This timeline ends with me still in my home, still independent, still fighting to make sure other elderly people don't experience what I experienced. People ask if I have regrets. The answer is complicated. Do I regret having to send my daughter to prison? Of course. Do I regret losing my only child? Every single day. Do I regret the choice I made to prosecute instead of continue being victimized? Not for a second. Because here's what I learned. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by behavior. Sophia stopped being my family the moment she started stealing from me while smiling to my face. Richard was never family. He was a predator who married into access to my assets. Real family is Patricia, who spent 3 months documenting my case and refused to charge me for half her hours because nobody should profit from exposing elder abuse. Real family is the 12 people in my support group who understand what it's like to be betrayed by your own children. Real family is the bank teller who flagged suspicious withdrawals on another customer's account because she remembered my story and saved another elderly woman from being exploited. I'm 79 now. I have maybe 10, 15 years left if I'm lucky and my health holds. And I'm going to spend every one of those years making sure that when elderly people are told sign the nursing home papers or you'll regret it, they know they have options. They know they can fight back. They know they're not alone. Because Sophia was right about one thing. I am old, but she was wrong about everything else. Being old doesn't mean being helpless. Being alone doesn't mean being friendless. Having a daughter doesn't mean accepting abuse from that daughter. I chose myself over my child. I chose my survival over her greed. I chose dignity over family loyalty. And if I had to do it again, knowing everything that came after, the trial, the imprisonment, the permanent loss of my daughter, I'd make the exact same choice. Because the alternative was spending my final years in a facility, wondering where my daughter was, not knowing she was living in my house, spending my money. The alternative was dying having never stood up for myself, having been a victim rather than a survivor. I'd rather be a survivor who destroyed her family than a victim who preserved it. My daughter said, sign the nursing home papers or you'll regret it. And I said no. And yes, I have regrets, but not the ones she intended. I don't regret protecting myself. I regret that protection was necessary. I regret raising a daughter who valued my money more than my humanity. I regret that Eduardo didn't live to see what Sophia became, though maybe it's a blessing he was spared that knowledge. But I don't regret the choice I made when faced with that ultimatum, because ultimatums reveal character, and Sophia revealed that her character was rotten, mercenary, cruel, and I revealed that mine was stronger than she'd imagined. I'm Teresa Alvarez. My daughter tried to steal everything and institutionalize me. I stopped her with evidence, courage, and a forensic accountant. And now I spend my days making sure other people's daughters can't do what mine tried to do. That's not the ending I wanted, but it's the ending I earned by refusing to be a victim. And in the end, that's all any of us can do. Choose survival over silence, even when survival costs us everything we thought we were protecting.